Today, we're going to take this image from looking like this to something that looks like this using a technique known as color pop. Now, if you're interested in picking up all one photo raw and want to save a little bit of money, consider using the affiliate link and the coupon code in the description box below. It'll save you some money at checkout, and I make a small commission from everyone who uses it. It's at no extra charge to you, but it's a great win-win. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at how we can make a color pop effect inside of On One Photo Raw. So the first step that I think everyone should do when it comes to editing images in general is just set a firm foundation. And the way that I like to do that is using Brilliance AI. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to use Brilliance AI for this particular image. And then I'm going to come over here to tone and color, and I'm going to come to the tone section. I think that this particular image needs a little bit more contrast, and so I'm just going to go ahead and pull that up. Now, I'm really just paying attention to the train with the yellow and the blue here. I'm not worried about the color anywhere else in the photo because we're going to get rid of that and color pop effect, right? And so now that I think I have that tone pretty much where I need it to be, I'm going to come down here to vibrance, and I'm just going to pull up on the vibrance and maybe even pull up on the saturation just to get like some really cool looking colors in this particular image. All right. And so here's what we started with, and here's where we are so far. Now it's time to create the color pop effect. What I'm going to do, because there's a ton of ways that you could do this, but the way that I feel like doing it is just using the black and white filter. And so what I'm going to do is come over to Super Select AI. It's going to be located in the left tool well. And so when I click that, it will give me this little cursor where I can select anything in the photo, essentially. All right. Now, I'm going to just click and drag to select the train. And this is one of my favorite ways of making selections using this tool, just because of how fast and easy it is. Is it going to be perfect all the time? No. And that's where you as the user just have to get familiar with using the tools. But now that I have this area selected, I need to choose how I want Super Select AI to apply the next filter. Well, for a color pop, what I want to do is make everything black and white around the train, leaving the train unaffected. So that tells me that I want to erase the effect from the train. And so now I need to come up here to the erase button here at the top where you get the tools for Super Select AI. And I'm just going to click on erase. And now I'm going to come over here to the apply, click the drop down for adjustment. I'm going to come over to black and white, and you can choose any of these options. But as I hover over the black and white filter, you can see the effect that we're getting. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the one that says blue just for the sake of this tutorial. And you can see I have now successfully created the color pop effect. Now, if that's all that you were concerned with, congratulations, you made it to the part of the tutorial where I showed you how to effectively create this effect, and you can go on. But I think that there's more you can do when doing a color pop effect, and that's what we're going to pay attention to moving forward in the rest of this video. So I'm going to go ahead and click the blue check mark and commit my Super Select AI selection of the black and white filter. But I'm going to come down to the tone section on my black and white filter. Now, if for any reason that Super Select AI didn't actually activate your effects module, just make sure you come over to effects, because that's where your black and white filter is going to be located if you're following along. And so we'll click on tone. And then you'll notice that it's increased the contrast around here. But what I want to do is kind of darken everything around here. I like darker images, and I don't plan to print this, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull down the brightness. And I'm even going to pull down on the shadows. And so you can see how I'm really starting to darken the rest of the frame. And I like the effect that I'm getting here. Right. And this is one of the reasons why I personally like to use the black and white filter, because I get these other controls that are available to me. And then of course, if I wanted to, I could also come into the conversion section. And if there were different colors that I wanted to tweak to really like enhance the color pop, I also have that flexibility here. But I'm not going to go into that level of detail in today's tutorial because I don't think that there's too much utility in doing that for this particular image, since all of the colors were pretty much like the same. But just to showcase it, you can see that there's a lot of reds here. And so if I turn this back on and I come over to color response and I increase or I pull back the reds, you can see how that has its own impact in the overall image. Again, I don't think that I would really need to do this, but you could see how unique you can really fine tune the look in your photos. And so I'm going to go ahead and minimize the black and white filter, because the next tool that I love combining whenever I use a black and white filter, I always experiment with this tool just to see if it's going to do anything that I like. And that is adding in a bleach bypass. So I'm going to click on add filter and come over to the legacy section. It's going to be on the far right if you're using PhotoRAW 2026, and click on bleach bypass. Now, when I select this, it's going over the entire image. And in this particular instance, it doesn't actually look that bad over the train. But if I was really doing some work and I wanted to preserve the train, let's say I did all this work on the colors and the tone and the contrast of the train, and I wanted to preserve it. Well, what you can do is come over here to the black and white filter, click on the thumbnail for the mask icon for black and white filter, and then right click and come down to this area that says copy. This has now copied that mask into your clipboard. And so now I can come back to the bleach bypass, click on the masking thumbnail for the bleach bypass to activate it, and then right click on it and come down to paste. And you'll notice I've now protected the train from getting that overly bleach bypass look. And to me, this doesn't quite look like it fits. It looks like I cut out the train and everything else was more contrasted, and it just looks better everywhere else except for the area where I want the person to be paying attention to in the photo. And so that tells me I need to apply some of that bleach bypass back onto the train. To do that, what I'm going to do is make sure that, again, by clicking on the mask thumbnail here for bleach bypass, I can come up to my masking properties, and then I can come to the target mask. Now, I will pause here for a second and say that if you have the floating window for your masking properties, this is not going to be nested on the right side. You may even have your masking properties nested on the left side of on one. Wherever you have it nested, just make sure you find the masking properties for your bleach bypass, and then you'll come over to the target mask and then click on the 3-line menu here. When you click this, you get a pop-up menu, and at the very top, you have refine mask. And once you click on that, you get a little window here. Now, if you've never used the refine mask dialog box, that's okay. We're only going to focus on one slider, and that's going to be the density slider. This is a tool that a lot of people don't know exists inside of On1, but because you're watching this far into the video, you are learning something new. And so what the density slider does, if I press the letter O to look at our mask, and if you know about masking, you'll know that white is the places in the photo where the effect is going to be applied. And then all the places that are black is where the effect will not be applied. As I pull the density slider down, you'll notice that the areas that are black start to turn gray. So what does that mean? That means that a portion of the effect is going to go into these areas. And if I pull it all the way down, well, now it's going over the entire image. I'm not protecting anything from taking the effect. All right. And so if I press the letter O, we can see the bleach bypass is over the entire image and it's impacting the train completely. As I start to pull up on this density slider, we start to protect that train from getting impacted by the bleach bypass. Think of this kind of like a shield with holes in it. And we get to choose how big the holes are in the shield. Now, you would probably wonder, like, well, Chris, why would you ever build a shield that has holes in it? And, for masking, it makes perfect sense. I don't know if you would ever want to do that for the purpose of building a shield with holes in it, but hey, there we go. Nonetheless, if you pull this all the way up, we end up with that cutout look that just doesn't look like it goes well with the overall photo. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull down on the density slider because I want to make this look like it fits. And I think right around 36 makes the most sense. So I can hit OK. And now I've committed it. I have not actually modified the settings for the bleach bypass. And so now I can do exactly that. I can come over here to the amount. I could crank that up. And now this is really starting to look a little film-like a movie. That's what I mean, like cinematic. And then I could also play around with the brightness here. And this is where, you would have to do whatever makes the most sense for your photo. All right. But I could really manipulate this in ways that I would not be able to had I not had the control over the mask. All right. And you'll notice that I was pulling on the saturation slider here. Remember, the bleach bypass is affecting the train just a little bit because it's gray. That mask is gray, so it means just a little bit of the bleach bypass is going onto this train. And so as I move the saturation, look, I can get like richer, darker colors that really make this color pop stand out. And this is the reason why I enjoy using black and white filters and bleach bypass filters combined together. Now, I will take a second here to mention the order of how this all works. You want the bleach bypass filter above the black and white filter. If I move it below the black and white filter, you'll notice that I get a little bit of a different look in the overall photo. Now, right here, it's not as drastic because I haven't done a whole lot. There's only 2 filters, but the more you start to add filters, the more you're going to see the difference in how that really affects the overall look. So just pay attention when you're working inside of your effect stack that you understand the order that each of these effects are going. Now, I have a video that explains, all of the effects and how they are impacting each other. So check the description box below for a link to that video if that's something you're interested in. But all that being said, let's go ahead and add in one last thing, which is going to be a vignette. So we'll click Add Filter, and then we're going to come over here to Vignette, and I will click on Big Softy, and that's a little too much, so we'll just pull that back and probably stop it right around here. All right. Now, this is the 3rd version of this color pop effect that I created. It is just one of many options that are available. So my recommendation to you is you should always work with snapshots because snapshots give you an opportunity to experiment. And as you can see, I have 2 versions of the color pop here. I'm going to save the version that we're working on right now by hitting New Snapshot. And I'm going to call this Color Pop 2. Oh, I need to call that something different. So we'll call it Color Pop 3 because that makes more sense. And now what I can do is show you the previous versions that I created. So here's the first one. And it doesn't look like much changed, but I guarantee you that it's definitely different. But I use the same tools here, bleach bypass and the black and white filter. I just have different settings on each of these. And then I have Color Pop 2. Now this one is going to look a little bit different, and this is actually my favorite look because it looks more realistic as if you were watching or seeing this on the day. And what's unique about this color pop, with the exception that I added in a LUT, but honestly, the LUT is not entirely the thing that's putting this together. If I turn off the LUT, I think it still looks very natural. And the reason for that is with the black and white filter, I actually let in some of the original color from the photo. And I think that this is a great way of using the color pop technique if you want to look as natural as possible. And in this particular image, there wasn't really anything interesting in everything else that's here. So removing the color, it just works well. If you are in a forest and you remove the colors from some very vibrant trees to highlight a house, well, that's going to look very different. So it may actually lend itself well to using this opacity slider to just kind of mute those colors and allow the house to kind of shine. So you choose how you want to use the color pop effect, because if you like setting it to 100%, you could do so. And you can see on version 1, I had the opacity 100%. So everything is black and white except for the train in the middle. And so that's the color pop effect in a nutshell, as well as some additional information about how you can think about using it for your own images. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. If you found value in the video, smash the like button, consider subscribing if you want to see more, and also consider sharing this with someone who you think would benefit from it. If you'd like to learn how to use All-in-One Photo Raw a little bit faster, then consider signing up for a training call with me. A link for that can be found in the description box below. Until next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.